Okay, hi everyone. We're going to be chatting today all about the January mindset, getting ready for all of our new exercise goals, particularly focusing on those who are new to fitness, or perhaps they're starting a new fitness routine of some kind, something that's perhaps slightly different to what they're used to in the past, how they should tackle it, and what are kind of some of our top tips in terms of advice to do that. So, first of all, welcome Imogen.
Okay.
We've decided today we're going to start to give our advice based on what our own kind of goals are for January. It's always good, even if you're someone who is kind of not just new to fitness, but have done a lot of these things in the past, still to have some new goals, perhaps a new bit of a new mindset, something slightly different for the new year. So Imogen's going to start us off today talking about what her kind of fitness goals are, and then hopefully you'll get lots of top tips as we go along from what we would do as we go along. So over to you, Imogen.
Sure. So my main goal for the new year is partly with running anyway, is to get myself back to my 10k distance. Because following on from previous videos where we found out about the sprained ankle,
Yep.
mine's obviously coming back from that. So the ankle itself is all fine now. It's just building back. I'm not quite back at 10k, but I'm not too far off it. So that's my main goal is that. But with having had the injury and some other bits and factors and stuff that have happened this year, although I haven't run 10k very much at all, so that's why the goal is to get back doing that regularly, but also to get it back to the times and the pacing that I used to do, because that's dropped off quite considerably. So my main target is to kind of work back towards that, and getting that done regularly. So I suppose there's already some of the bits and pieces that I'm doing and to able to achieve that is essentially just the continuation of some of the bits and pieces I've already put in place. So there's obviously this the plan of knowing what runs I'm doing when and how they're structured. Which for me so far has been working well, because I've managed to get it back to close to the 10k at least. So I've kind of been focusing on get the distance, then we'll work on the speed, because I can play with the walk run side of things. So that's kind of how that bit's going. And then there's various like accessory bits, I've been calling it, that I've been doing and then I've got in place, which again will be essentially for me for January be more of a continuation rather than starting anything particularly new on that side of stuff. Because it's just been building from obviously the rehab side of stuff. So what I probably, judging by how I've fallen off the wagon a little bit at the moment, will be having more of a focus sort of mindset to is obviously the self, like more of mobility and the self-care side of stuff. I've always been quite good with the strength and that activation stuff, because I find it easier to fit in. But ironically, given what I do most of my time with the massage and stuff, my own self massage and stuff with the balls, less so.
Yeah, I mean,
So
it
that'll
can
be
sometimes be a bit of a case. I do this very often. Do as I say, not as I do. Is making sure we create time for ourselves, isn't it? Sometimes within our own remit of what we do.
yeah. And so ironically, the thing I need to do more of next year is the thing I do all day for other people. So that's where the sort of focus will be from that side of stuff. And then there's other sort of secondary stuff on there for me, which is more of to do with like I want to try and focus a little bit more on my core, particularly my core tone, because a lot of the sport and the exercise I do is predominantly for lower body, and then obviously with the job it tends to be quite physical for upper, and my background all sits with stuff that demanded on my core, so it's quite foreign for me to lose that toning. So I and there's a variety of other reasons why that would be helpful for me, but
Yeah.
that's kind of my sort of new, as it were, sort of focus, is to bring in that side of stuff into a routine a little bit, which will slot in with some of the accessory stuff that I was doing.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, I have totally different goals to yourself, so hopefully it might be a few other bits and bobs that people can glean from me. I have been working over the last year on gaining a lot more lean muscle mass through my strength training. Obviously, I do involve kind of cardio in my training each week, so I'm perfectly kind of happy with what I do. And one of the things to say actually when you are so particularly thinking about people who are new to fitness is that it really obviously depends on your goals, doesn't it? You know, what is it that you're looking to achieve? Is it I want to be fitter, I want to be healthier? Is it I want to lose weight or sometimes even gain weight, you know, whether it's through actual finding it hard to keep weight on or gaining muscle mass, so gaining weight in that way. And often people will think that there are certain things that you have to do to, you know, do exercise, and you have to do things that often you don't like doing. And I know I've touched upon this before in previous discussions, but what I am very keen on making it clearer out when it comes to exercise is really trying to, you know, explore, experiment, and find the things that you can enjoy the most. You know, even though I love strength training as something that, as I say, it's great for your health, great for building muscle mass, which has lots of great benefits in terms of improving bone density, improving kind of hormone production, things like that. I enjoy that time to do that particular exercise. You know, it's great for mindfulness. I love pushing my limits sometimes, depending on how I feel. So I find lots of different benefits, but lots of people might not, you know, enjoy that as much, and they do like cardio, whereas I actually, you know, I do like doing certain things cardio wise. So for me, I'm an indoor cyclist or spinner, as it were. I really enjoy doing that. I love doing my boxing and things like that and getting cardio into that type of a workout. But I'm not someone who necessarily gets on a treadmill. You know, I don't particularly enjoy running that much. I do some running. I think it's good to do a variety of different disciplines, but I'm not necessarily going to be hopping on loads of those cardio machines all the time just because I want to be fitter. I know obviously there's a variety of different ways in which I can get fit, and I want to choose the things that I actually enjoy. So I've spent over the years, obviously, time experimenting, maybe going to different classes, doing things on my own, trying different machines, doing outdoor running, you know, outdoor cycling, and vice versa indoors. And I've just narrowed it down to the things that I really actually find that I get the most out of in terms of both enjoyment. I'm still able to push myself, get that cardiovascular benefit for heart health. And, you know, I stick to those things quite rigidly now because I just know that those are the ones I enjoy, and I don't feel I have to do the things that I don't enjoy. There's such a variety of things that you can do, you know, and that doesn't even have to include going to a gym and using equipment. You know, if you find there's outdoor stuff that you like doing with other people, never mind on your own, whether it's a group activity, it could be something out on water, for example, or it could be that you do something along the lines of rock climbing, something different. You know, there's so many different things. So when we talk about, I guess, new January mindset when it comes to fitness, I think some people need to think outside the box and remind themselves what that means. You know, it's moving your body more than you did before. It is using your muscles in some way. It is getting your heart rate up in whatever way that might be, but it doesn't have to be, you know, the typical things which a lot of people tend to do and associate with getting fit and losing weight. Because one of the big things that we know is that, you know, particularly if it is a weight loss thing or a general getting fitter thing or being healthier thing, you know, it is not going to be sustainable if in the long run you don't really enjoy anything that you're doing. You know, you're choosing things because you feel like you have to lose weight, and you might stick to it for a while. The January mindset for some people, you know, for a lot of people it's like a 6 to 8 week, and then that obviously drops off quite a lot in terms of motivation. But for a lot of people, it might last a little bit longer and they might lose all the weight and they'll feel amazing. But if you've chosen things which aren't sustainable, you don't stick to them as part of your routine week in, week out, just keep going because you do it because you enjoy it, and it's just like doing anything else, you know, that you enjoy, you know, whether that's kind of being at home and watching your favorite TV program each week, and you know you'll always do it because you enjoy doing it. Same with kind of choice of exercise, you know, go through different things and find things that become your hobby. You know, they need to become like a hobby for you, because otherwise you're going to, you know, whether it's kind of get fitter, lose weight, etc., and then you're going to have this up and down. You'll end up kind of just going back to where you started if it's something you can't stick to. So my, you know, always my biggest tip is to find the things that you enjoy for you. Not everyone likes everything. You know, people might look at kind of generally quite fit, healthy people and think, oh wow, they probably must do lots of running, they must do all these specific things. People always ask me, oh, do you run? And I'm like, not really. I mean, I have done running in the past, you know, I've done events, and when I get into it, sometimes I enjoy it more than others. But I'm not a runner, and lots of people can be kind of surprised by that. But there's other ways to get fit and to, as I say, build muscle, lose weight, whatever it is that your goals are. So don't be pigeonholed into kind of set things that you think you should be doing. You know, and I think that's, you know, it's probably really important, isn't it? It's probably a part of what you do in terms of your choice.
Oh, for sure. I mean, yoga's one I get asked a lot about, is with people asking if I think yoga's good, and I'm like, yeah, it's brilliant if you love it. Like, if it's something that you get stuff from, if you enjoy it, then it's a brilliant form of activity. But if it's something that you don't enjoy, then you miss out on large proportions of it. And there's other bits that, like you're saying, that you'll probably find more. But what I was going to say with what you were saying with stuff like that is where you're sort of like, if you feel like with that January mindset and you're like, right, I'm going to do this, but it's not something that's sustainable, it may be a case of where we were sort of talking previous videos with the planning side of like, of being like, well, maybe that activity is what you need for that window of time to get you in that mindset, to find out maybe what it is you enjoy, what it is that you don't enjoy, because actually knowing what you don't like is sometimes more helpful than knowing what you do, because then it will lead you to the right direction. But even if that, of like that planning time of going, right, okay, well, I don't want to, but I need to, in order to get myself to the sort of mindset or headspace to be able to know what to do that is sustainable, it may be that you do that for a period of time. But it's the difference of knowing that it's planned and why you're doing it, rather than just forcing yourself. Because if it's planned and you know why you're doing it, you're much more likely then have that checkpoint to then review and find and change and alter if you need to.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing point to make, actually. You know, you might, you know, we talked about planning in our last video, and I think if you plan something and you try it out, you know, you've got to do that, because you don't sometimes know whether you're going to enjoy something or not, or you might think you're not going to enjoy it and you do, or you think you are going to enjoy it and you don't. But don't let yourself, I think one of the things that people do in this, particularly, you know, through January, February time, is they make this plan in their head. I'm going to do this, I'm going to stick to that exercise, I'm going to do it this time every week, and they've got the plan, and it's always good to have the plan, but to be flexible with the plan. You know, if you start doing something and it is just not working for you, don't necessarily try and push through it. Just try and choose something else, switch to something else as soon as you realize it's just not working, you know, after you've been perhaps trying it for a few weeks and you just don't enjoy it. You know, be flexible to change and do something totally different, rather than getting really disheartened thinking, gosh, I'm just not going to be able to sustain this, I can't do this, I'm just going to give up. You know, as I said, there's so much choice of different things that you can do out there, and it doesn't have to be something that's set in stone. It needs to be flexible. And that's the same with, you know, when I talk to people in combination, particularly those people trying to lose weight in the new year, is nutrition. You know, that obviously goes hand in hand with what you're doing. You know, it improves your energy levels, it's going to kind of change, yes, perhaps your weight, but, you know, generally how you're feeling alongside doing this exercise and giving you the energy you need. But again, sometimes you might put your own little meal plan in place, or decide you're going to do something specific, or cut certain things out of your diet, and that might not just work, and then you'll be kind of really, you know, unmotivated to keep going with changes. But again, just kind of try different things, switch different things up. It's, you know, they're exactly the same kind of mindset really that you need to have in terms of being flexible to change your plans, and find, you know, keep experimenting. It might take you months on end to find the things that actually you'll really enjoy doing. You know, maybe you realize that you prefer to do things on your own compared to going to doing things as a group, or vice versa. You might really need that kind of group support. And so actually when you tried going to the gym or doing running on your own, it just wasn't motivating enough. You didn't feel you had the support you needed. So just go and try something different where it is a group class, or, you know, an activity where lots of people will be kind of doing something together at the same time, so that you've got the support you need. Everybody's different in terms of what they need to be able to progress with these things and to make them stick in the long term. And I think
It's even like,
important.
yeah, for sure. Like, it's even stuff like what you're saying, isn't it? It's flexibility in what you're doing, so you've got the different options. So it's like, I was just thinking, you've reminded me of one that I did was with, it was a few years ago now, of when I'd made a plan. I think it was going back to yoga, but I think it was to do some yoga, and my plan was to do it on a Friday morning, because I thought it'd be a really nice way to end the week. I'd been running and doing other bits of exercises during the week, so I thought it'd be a really good thing to kind of help recovery and stuff. So I went in with that was the intention, that this is what I would do. But what in reality happened was that it, like, you go about your week, and by Friday morning I was knackered, and so I just never did it. And I ended up finding that actually, if I did it more midweek, I was much better. And actually, by the time I got to Friday, probably not as knackered as I was before. So it was just like, and I didn't like, if you'd have asked me to whether that was where I was going to do it before I was sitting down and trying it all, like, there was no way it was, because I was going Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday training then, and I would like to break it up a little bit. But for me, actually, in practice, with just how my own energy levels and things were like this were fluctuating, that actually the bit in the week where it fitted the best was to go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, which baffled me at the time, because it was completely foreign to not have that middle rest day. And actually, this is the sort of more of the structure that suits me better. I was having sort of heavier stuff broken up by a more sort of restorative type activity, and then I can carry on with the rest of the week. And that's that sort of cycle. But I only found that out through actually just doing it and going, okay, well, this isn't working, so I now need to alter the sort of the plan. So it may be that even when you're sort of sitting down and working out what and how you're doing, that things do just tweak, and then that gives you more options of what you could do, because suddenly you're like, okay, if you're doing timings and stuff, or if you're doing bits on your own, or if there's classes or whatever it is, it changes your options and stuff if you're having to restructure bits and pieces as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it kind of goes back to what we were talking about in our previous video about planning as well. You know, you might, you know, plan out something which just doesn't, you realize doesn't work with your routine or your schedule. Again, don't be afraid to mix it up as soon as you need to make sure that things you know, you can maintain things and they stay sustainable. So what you planned in might just really just not work. In again, don't get disheartened, just think, right, okay, I'm going to drop a session, you know, I don't need to be doing this many sessions. And essentially, from my point of view, as a personal trainer, as someone who works with people who are trying to obviously, you know, improve strength, build muscle, that kind of thing, you know, they are going to be the people that actually need to build up a bit more slowly. Don't rush into like a full-on exercise plan where, you know, your body's not used to it. You're probably making lots of changes all in one go. It would be much better, and again, likely to be much more sustainable in the long term, if you just add in one new session to start off with. Do that for several weeks. Get that under your belt, get used to it, get used to the exercises or whatever the activity is that you're doing. Really feel comfortable with that. You know, you'll have, you know, particularly if it is kind of strength training type based activities or something where you're using your muscles a lot more than you're used to, you're going to be sore, it's going to be hard, you know, you're going to have that transition period where your body's kind of adapting. So again, just little and often adding extra things in where you can. It might be you start off with three shorter sessions, or you do just one longer session that you can manage, and you build on that slowly over time. Don't think that January means, right, whole new exercise regime, 3-4 days a week, I'm going to be on it, and you just can't stick to it because it's just, A, your body's not used to it, and B, you haven't got that mindset long term to be able to kind of just go straight into that from perhaps not doing very much at all previously, or from doing something different depending on what you were doing before. So even me with the new training plan that I'm prepping for ready for January, I'm not going to be kind of absolutely throwing myself into going into the heaviest weights possible. I'm going to be working on building strength from January. After building lots of lean muscle mass, I now want to improve my strength overall. So, I've already made tweaks to my plan. I've already started making some of those changes so that it's not a shock to the system when I really do start going heavier in January. So I've already kind of preempted that a little bit, but again, there'll still be a process of, not going fully into that straight away. And it will have to kind of build over the whole of January, really, before I feel like I'm up to where I want to be. In terms of my full-on training schedule. And obviously lots of people will have a break over Christmas as well. So again, body will be in repair mode, restorative mode, hopefully for most people. So again, you don't want to kind of just shock all of your kind of central nervous system, your immune system. Everything is going to get hammered if you just go into a full-on kind of training plan straight away. Your body won't know what's hit it, and you need to be able to kind of manage that as well. So it's just kind of thinking ahead a little bit as well, isn't it, with those things.
I know. But then that's like equally, like as you go through, like one of the bits that I always like, and I think we probably touched upon last time with stuff for new to fitness, is having that sort of like making sure you are like regularly checking in with yourself, because you can have a guess based on what things are, or use sort of whatever resources are around and follow our advice in terms of like progression of stuff. But actually, until you're actually doing it, you don't know how you're going to respond. So you do need those sort of regular check-ins to know whether you're dialing up, because maybe actually you're adjusting quicker than you think. So you do need to amp it. Or actually things are just taking that little bit time. You needed a bit more attention. You needed a bit of time to process whatever it is you're working on and to consolidate at that level. So then you need to either hold it, or you might need to dial it back. You kind of need that sort of touch point to kind of just, like you say, adjust the dial one way or the other, or not at all. Like it may be that actually you're at the sweet spot and you just need to hold it there a little bit longer. So you need to sort of know how and when you're going to have those check-ins. And also I always sort of like it as well, of not even necessarily having like the fixed points, but having something that kind of gives you the information each time, because although you'll say like we start at the beginning of January and you have a checkpoint at the end of the month, but there's still a few sort of weeks in between, so you need something to know to how to kind of get that information feedback of how things are going, whether it be, like you say, if you're doing sort of a training session, like how quickly are you bouncing back between sessions, like is it sort of a few days of soreness, or is it pretty quick? Like all this sort of stuff will kind of help give and inform what you need to do in terms of dialing up, dialing down, or holding.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's an important point to make. Not everybody is going to find everything super hard, and actually some people might not be pushing themselves enough. They might think, right, I won't go too hard too soon, but actually those people who have been training in various ways for years, like myself, sometimes I still need to check in, and my plan is actually I will be training with training partners a lot more from January. So already kind of started to get into that routine, because I'm at that point where I could easily plateau, I can become complacent, and so therefore I'm having those accountability partners there to kind of push me, to check in with me regularly. It's not to say that I'll be doing everything with other people all the time, but actually just having that something or someone there in the background that is going to kind of keep you pushing forwards towards your goals, that can be equally as important, particularly for those people who are used to training, do lots of exercise, but still have new goals, as we all do. So I think that's an amazing point to make. Okay, right. Well, hopefully that's given our experiences and what our plans are and things, have given some people some ideas, and just some things to be be aware of in terms of your own goals, pushing yourself, and looking after yourself, and not going obviously too crazy straight away in January, particularly if you are new to fitness, which is important, and not to put too much pressure on yourself to go all out straight away in January. Allow yourself that slow build over the winter and this going into the spring, that time of adjustment, both for mindset and for physical adjustments as well. Okay, right, lovely to chat, and we'll probably squeeze another one in before Christmas, and then yeah, we'll be back in January ourselves. Maybe we can do a bit of an update on how things are going with our New Year's goals.
Sounds good.
All right, thanks, Imogen. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.